itchy, me, sun,
Sun,
sea.
Love how you bring the anime out of me.
And then it's like, Loku, Nana.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, are we on?
We're just
Yes.
getting this set up.
Oh, here we are.
So we can
Nope,
share
I
this.
don't see us yet.
Well,
Do you guys see us? Oh, I see us.
there we
We're live.
go.
Awesome.
Hasn't come in through mine yet.
Who's sharing it where?
I'll share on Get Lit.
Okay. I'm sharing it on our story.
Great.
And I'm sharing it on...
Oh, wait, hold on. How do I do that? I go here. I go here.
Hey, everybody. If you're just getting on, if you can leave us a comment, let us know where you're tuning in from. We're going to be talking all about tapping into expansion mode.
Okay, almost there. Okay, it's shared on Get Lit.
All right. I was turning off.
I'm not sure if I'm like sharing it in too many places. Yay!
Sharing is caring.
I love
Okay,
it.
Hey.
perfect.
Yeah, if you guys want to leave us a comment, tell us where you're from, what expansion feels like, means like to you,
Where you're trying to expand in your life. I feel
where
like
you're trying to. Mhm.
how can we help you?
Yeah, so this is also going to be all about how to transform the mundane into something more magical, and also when you turn off your power. Like when is it that you shut down? When is it that someone else maybe accidentally triggers you and then you bring yourself into a lower emotional state? How do you stay turned on? How do you stay lit up? How do you stay on track with your own goals, your own path? And how do you maintain the vibration of your aligned spirit just to maintain that vibe? Yay!
Boom.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good summary, Sam.
Yay! So yeah, if you're just tuning in, just leave us a comment. We'd love to see you. I know this is kind of a surprise. Woohoo! Great.
Surprise lives are the best.
Oh, for sure. Awesome. Yay. So if we just want to take a few deep breaths. Let's just feel our grounding cord dropped into the center of the earth. Let's pour platinum liquid light into the space. Wherever you're at, feeling platinum liquid light flowing through all of the ground area that you're in, your grounding cord into the earth. Feel that platinum liquid light cleansing the crown chakra, connecting you to source directly. And if you're just popping on, we'd love for you to say hi. Let us know what city you're in. If you have any intentions for your Friday. I always call Friday Freedom Friday.
Did you say freaking Friday?
Freedom Friday.
I think it's Freaking Friday.
That too. Adina Howard, freak in the morning, freak at night. Just kidding. No. Nobody.
I'm there with you, Sam.
Okay. Yay, great, awesome. Okay, who wants to start?
So today
Right.
we're talking about expansion, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So there's something about expansion that was coming up for me around, it's like there's all these things that might come up, whether that's contrast or whatever, that gets you more clear and more aware of your actual desires. And then, you know, you go through this decide like, oh, I'm gonna get it. I want this, blah, blah, blah. And then from there, it's like, okay, I've decided. now what? Like, I want it. I'm clear on that. Now what do I do, Cosmos? Like, what's up? And I feel like that's where, like, at least for me, where I can drop my vibe, where I can drop the ball, where I will allow myself to like constrict a little bit and go, okay, well, I'm not seeing it immediately. I'm not seeing the guidance, or I'm not seeing the manifestation right away. So now I drop the vibe or whatever. So I want to talk about kind of like how you maintain your vibe, how you maintain your frequency and that feeling of desire and pleasure while it's coming in. And it's like, I think the key thing about this is to have a high standard for feeling good, for your vibration, for how you feel, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what. No matter what is going on outside of you, no matter what is or is not showing up for you, you get to be that queen. You get to feel good no matter what. And that's, I think, the key to like exponential expansion, right?
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I just wanted to add to that in the way of how you were saying, you know, that you'll find sometimes if you don't see the immediate next step, that often for you, that's when you feel like you drop your vibe. And I think part of when you're saying having the high standard to feel good no matter what doesn't mean that one needs to feel happy all the time. And that needs to be like, this is fucking awesome, even though it sucks. Like, you know, it's in the process. Having a high standard of having like a high standard for the way you feel good might be that in the process of feeling like shit, you're being gentle with yourself. You're allowing yourself to be there, to be present with it, to see it, to not judge it, to bring in a tenderness and a love. And that's actually having a high standard of feeling good. So versus shitting on yourself, like in a way of being somewhere, if you're not exactly in, you know, where you think you should be, it's all a process, right? And so it's like the embodiment is really about that. It's that whole process. It's that process of becoming. And so that high standard of even when you're in the moments where it doesn't seem like you're exactly where you're wanting to be, and you're bringing in a love and like, it's okay, and I'm getting there and I'm getting closer. That is like the embodiment, right? Because it's not just about the good moments and woo, I'm embodying it, I feel so good. It's like, wow, it's that
when
Sorry, there's a little pause there,
like
but
when nobody's watching, right? It's that level.
Sorry, you just phased out.
Well, and it's funny that Jen,
it was perfect timing.
when I felt the same thing, I guess is what I'm trying to say with Jen. And my little piece is like allowing yourself to course correct, allowing yourself to not be so sorry, Piccadilly, my cat wants out. Not being so rigid in what you think is supposed to happen or what is high vibe, right? And that's something that is how I used to drop energetically, is like, oh, I feel bad, and then just going down that, like I would let that mean something and it didn't need to mean that, but because I put that story and that energy behind that, that's what it was created. Instead of being like, oh, I just need to rest, right? And I'm going to watch, you know, Momo, Grey's Anatomy for 4 hours. And I'm not like, and when you allow yourself to desire what you actually want, then you get like 4 clients when you're watching Grey's Anatomy, because it doesn't matter what you're actually doing. It's the energy behind what you're doing, right? And it's allowing yourself to listen to your body outside of your expectations of what you were supposed to do that day, or, you know, what it looks like to be high vibe or embodied or whatnot. It's always a story. That's what I've been really working on, is just allowing myself to tap into what I need, desire, want, whatever you want to say, but unapologetically, not allowing, like, no judgment towards self, just being like, this is what I need. And that's it. I don't need to justify it.
And that's where it's like expansion actually happens in those things that seem so little. Oftentimes we might brush it aside or minimalize it, right? Like, well, I can put this off. Yes, I feel like I need to rest, but I actually need to get this done type thing. And so it's the expansion is actually that growth process. And like you said, it's not judging the self and being there unapologetically, right? It's like, I'm here, this is where I'm at. So beautiful.
Yeah, I just want to say a quick hi to, like, hi Joanna, Hi, Jamie. Hi, Susan. I think I saw Elaine on here too. So, hi, loves.
And
Yay!
Claire's here, and my Aunt Tina's here.
Oh, so great.
Yes,
Yay.
actually, if we want to take a moment, she put her house on the market yesterday. So we want to pick up her beautiful home.
Exciting.
I'm gonna sell her
I was like, oops, hi, Jennifer. Yay.
So
yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just wanted to pick up on that, what you guys were talking about. It's like, if I were to put a word on it, it's grace, right? It's
oh my God. I was
it's the vibration of grace. And I was like,
that's all my thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was like, I was getting this download this morning when I was I was doing my light meditation, and it was like, what is grace? Like because I'm practicing that right now. The virtue of grace is something I'm practicing. And I'm like, what is that? And what came in was, oh, grace is just love in motion. It's when love flows out of you, no matter what, like the words that come out of you, through an act of kindness, through a thought, through anything, right? So it's like love, when it comes out into the 3D earth plane in motion, that's what grace is. And so what came in for me was, oh, well, then how do I cultivate more of that within me and the people around me? And what came in was, well, if I connect back into love and that feeling of love before acting, before using words, before, or even during when I'm having thoughts, like if I'm having thoughts or a narrative, I go, okay, that doesn't feel good. I'm going to connect back into love real quick. I'll come back to you, and then with the filter of that love, come back to that thought, and I'll go, oh, wait, that's not actually real. What is that about? And you're able to have that level of compassion, grace for yourself. And then same for when you use words, right? You're able to have that love and compassion for the other person before going into judgment or fear or guilt or whatever that's coming up for you.
Yeah, I love that you're working on grace. I feel like for me, I've been working on the virtue of acceptance. We're all reading this book called what is it called? The 7 Planes of Existence or something. Oh, perfect.
It's like my Bible right now.
You know what? I don't have it yet.
But you're already channeling it, so.
Yeah, because what's interesting is I feel like I channeled grace. We were talking like in the group with Momo, and like I channeled grace from Momo, but I was like, no, like I need to practice grace. Right? It's all the same. But like literally, I was like, grace is my word. I'm like, it could be like my middle name right now. Like I'm really grace. I want it everywhere because I find that my old self was not graceful with myself. I'm really good at being graceful with other people, but it's like that inner conflict that didn't have grace. And when I've been like just loving on myself, it's grace. That's all it is. It's self-compassion.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like practicing the virtue of acceptance for me kind of was just like a micro different frequency of that. So I went back and I was like, oh, acceptance, like what? Because it says like if you want to manifest instantaneously, one of the things you need is acceptance. And I'm like, of course I'm accepting. But then I looked back and I'm like, oh, like, you look at every decision that you've made and it's about loving every single thing that you made in the past, because then you have a lot of self-trust. And it allows you to expand forward, because if you feel like you made all these decisions in the past, it makes it hard for you to have a lot of energy and momentum to expand and move forward, because you're wavering, you're second guessing, like, like, why did I create that? Was that okay? Or whatever. Or even acceptance of everything in your life right now. Like if there's like little tiny judgments of like, this pillowcase isn't organic. I don't know. Just like like the little tiniest things of like not accepting what's in your reality right now. There's a dissonance in the energy field, and it actually slows things down instead of speeding things up, right?
Right. And it's like you're creating actually from a place of the past.
Right.
And so it's like that there versus being in the present, where it's the present. It's like, there's, that's why it's called the present, right? Because it's your presence. You're there. It's the being with, and when you're present, you can really notice, right? it's the little things that maybe get slipped up in the day-to-day, what's going on. And so really bringing in the presence is learning the acceptance, cultivating the grace, like all of those things.
And I love how you talk about the present, because one of our favorite money coaches, Genevieve, always talks about how you have access to everything in the present. You have access to God consciousness. You have access to all the miracles that the cosmos has, right? The well of the cosmos, the abundance of the cosmos. You only have access to that in this particular moment. If you're in the past or in the future, it's like you don't have access to that, because right now is all there is. And so if you want access to that, if you want to like allow in the resources of cosmos and the magic, you come into the present, you open that floodgate open, and then it just, and that requires trust, which is why I love how you were talking about trust, that virtue of trust, right? Where for me, I'm noticing how it's about building self-trust, but also noticing how sometimes I get impatient and I get ahead of my desire. I get ahead of my energy. I get ahead of my creative juices. So something pops in. I'm like, all right, so what do I do with it? Now I do this, I do that. And I like tire myself out. I like burn myself out, even though that, like, it's the whole next step thing. I'll have a desire. I get a download, idea comes in, and I'm like, yes. And then I'm like, my mind comes in after that and tries to fill in the blanks, fill in the how, figure it out. And it's like the mind is a survival mechanism of like gazillion years, right? And so it's like bridging the where you are now to where you want to be. And it tries to actually create bridges within the 3D into how to do that. That's the how. But it's almost like a lot of the times the mind creates that bridge so that it can be alert for the dangers. So it's still coming almost from a place of fear. So that how is the embodiment of lack of trust. And then it's also coming in from creating and pulling in resources from the earth plane, which is great, and that'll get you somewhere. But that's still the earth plane. There's still limitation with the 3D. Whereas if you're letting the desire lead your mind, you're letting your desire pull you, right? Then you're pulling from the resources of cosmos, which is limitless, which is magical. So, and that's the divine feminine coming into body. Divine feminine is able to access the limitless resources of cosmos and allow that to then lead the mind, create in the 3D, right? So it's a very different way of creating, a different way of letting the desire flow through you and allowing the mind to work for you instead of against you.
So the way that I was seeing that energetically, Momo, when you were talking, it's like if you even think about the word expansion, it's like how you were saying it's, I'm seeing it here, right? And it's like wanting to get there, and the mind wants to create this bridge. It wants to but it's coming from a place of fear. So what it's trying to say is that it has to jump from here to here, and really that's not expansion. That's like a fucking explosion. It's like a and really
like pressure.
Like it's the pressure. It's like the boom. It's and it has to get from here to here through this like immediate way. And when you're tuning into, it's like the feminine, the cosmos, what it is, it's the constant stream, right? It's the constant stream that is then, like you said, it's by being pulled by that desire. It's being pulled by that leading edge. It's actually causing that expansion, which it's not the breaking. It's not the stretching. It's not the pressure. It's the becoming of. It's the expansion. It's the embodiment, right, of that expansion.
Absolutely. And to elaborate on the brain, it's really more of a recorder, right? So when the brain tries to answer the how or the why, it's actually looking at everything that you've seen already that's possible. So there's no way for the brain to create. Does that make sense? Like there's no way unless you activate vivid imagination, because then you have to open up the doors. Like for instance, I had never had a client reach out to me on Instagram before, but like a week ago, I was like, hey, I'm ready for like clients to come to me on Instagram. So I opened up a neural pathway, and immediately, like 4 days later, someone reached out to me on Instagram as a client and asked, whatever, reached out to me. But when you are getting solutions from your brain, because it's a recorder, it has limited access to what's possible. Where like Cosmos is like, like I had a friend that was like, I want to manifest $10,000, and they found $10,000 cash in a brown paper bag outside of a casino.
Oh, I love that.
And
you know, it's so funny, like Sam, as you're talking about this, what I was like, because I think we have to trick our minds in a certain way, right? We have to like retrain our minds. We have new neural pathways coming in. And so for me, and you have to be honest with yourself, right? There's like this radical responsibility that's like, oh, I'm in my logic mind and this is stupid. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, no. You know, you have to come back into where you want to be until it's just so normal, right? So there is like push and pull when you start to come in. And for me, I like to make things fun because if it's not fun, like I just don't want to do it. And so when that starts happening in my space, I'm like, I tap into wonder instead of being like, how? I'm like, ooh, I wonder how.
I love that.
Wonder how the cosmos is going to lay this out because I already know it is, right? Like, and it's like, then when you wonder, like you're in this like beautiful space of, then you're not like, when? You know, you're just like, I wonder when, you know, and it's different energy though.
So different.
Yeah,
and like,
absolutely.
My favorite stories are the ones that don't make sense, right? Like my favorite testimonials, my favorite like moments of life are like, you won't even believe it. And it's like, I couldn't even in my wildest dreams, it wouldn't have gone that way, right? And it's because the cosmos or universe or God or whatever you want to say is so brilliant. It's just so extremely brilliant, and it's so fun to see how it comes in, and that's where I try to come in, right?
You know what it reminds me of is our trip to Avalon when we were
so magical
of my life is the day we went to Avalon, and holy shit, I could not have made that better.
We spent time and space and everything.
Oh my god!
The whole thing was so wondrous, and each moment I was like, "What's gonna happen next? What the fuck is gonna happen next?" Right? And like that's how I love to live my life, and that's how I live my life with manifestation too. It's like, ooh, I want $100,000. So it is. I wonder how. I wonder who it's going to come through because it's just an exchange of energy anyway.
Totally. I was totally tapping into that just on my walk like yesterday. And I was like, and you know, because like you switch from survival mode of, oh my gosh, I need to get a client, into like, oh my gosh, like I wonder how this next story is going to unfold. Like, I wonder how that's going to feel. Like, it's probably going to be next level. Like, whoa, how is that going to show up for me? You know, so it's such a huge door opener because then, and when you really think about it, if you really go back and look, like most of the things that show up in your life are pretty magical. You know, it's like, you know, your mind wants to trick you to think like you did it, but really like the universe like had played a huge role in like, you know, creating that with you and for you. And so it's just so much faster to work in the magic instead of the logic. You know, the logic, you can always still get there, but you're going to have to like work really hard or push or manipulate or force. You're like, you know, I always say like from A to B, you're like, you're going in this line and you're trying to get there. And Cosmo's like, I just want to take you to C, like up here, follow your joy. It's over here. And you don't know what that looks like, you know?
And that, like rigid expectations, right? You're like, I'm going here, but it's like so beautiful over there, so beautiful, and you're missing everything you asked for because it's over there, but you think it's over there, you know? So
totally. I was feeling that same way where it's like we've been so imprinted that it's to get to A to B, it's construct, right? It's in this linear way. And that's where it's like expansion isn't always like, okay, in this linear way. It's like, you know, opening up to the wonder, to the realms of possibility, creating the new neurons, using your vivid imagination, like all of those things. And that's where it is. It opens up that constant stream, right? It opens up the stream of the universe, of cosmos, of the play, of all of it.
I love it because we're coming into the new moon next week, next Friday in Gemini. And I just listened to Sarah Verba, one of my favorite astrologers, about what it's about. And it literally talks about how we are dissolving the narratives of the logical what we should be, how our life should look like, how it should play out, how all those things are dissolving right now. And the vibe that we're coming into in this new moon is, how can I playfully, with kindness, like like playing in that curiosity of, ooh, what could it look like? What would it be like? Oh, I don't think this narrative is, it's not fun for me anymore. It's too logical. It's boring. And so it's like, that's the vibe that we're coming into, that curiosity of that inner child, right? With kindness, with like lovingness, but also like the willingness to see it, right? Willingness to see what it could be.
I feel like our entire planet, we have shifted the operating system, and a lot of people are still trying to use like the old paradigm, and they're like, why isn't that working anymore? Why isn't like me pushing myself really hard? Like, why am I not getting the results? Why am I using the strategies but not getting what I thought I would get out of it? And it's because, it was like it was like a decade ago, it's like Virgo, or Pluto was in Virgo, which is like strict, like all these things. And now we're like in a totally different sign. And it's like, we have all these new rules on the planet, but like nobody knows what those new rules are, And it's like, it's the quantum, the spontaneous, the divine feminine. It's like, that's why we have this huge rise in like all women waking up. It's like, we're literally energetically in a different time period, and things happen in a different way. It's more magical. It's like we went through the dark ages and we're coming back into this like light phase again. But then so many people are kind of like used to the dark ages, so they're still using that old operating system, but it's not working.
Like, I love that global analogy, because right now, so many, like, I'm in Silicon Valley, so I'm really close, or I'm close to Silicon Valley, so I'm close to that whole tech world, but so many companies have been still in, like, the brick and mortar mindset, where they're all working online, but they're working from offices or whatever, and now that it's been shut down for months, they've all had to shift to online, or to have a completely creative way of operating, and they never thought they could do it, and they've been doing it for months now. They're like, wait, this is possible? We didn't know it was, but it is. Oh, I guess it's possible. And it's completely opening up a whole nother world of, oh, well, now that we're going to be reopening soon, how do we want to do this? Because we thought something wasn't possible. It clearly was. We already did it. So now, it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting. It's like we're not here to use our life force battery just to work, just to survive. Like, work and business should go around like our lifestyle, like our lifestyle, like us beaming, like that should be first, and the business like feeds into it,
That's actually like how we're created.
Luckily, I love our business, so
we designed it that way, right?
Well, that's what I was saying, is like, that's how you do live a solar life, right?
Yep.
Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, start with you and build everything else around it.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the things that I wanted to touch on too was just like, even, this world level, how Momo was saying, it's like people who thought, oh, we couldn't do it. We went from brick and mortar and we didn't think that this is possible. And, Sam, you're saying it's like, we're not here to just use our entire life force to have our life revolve around our work. And if you think about life is about expansion. It's about growth. It's about learning. If we are, we're not here to stay stasis and do the same thing over and over again. We're constantly becoming, we're constantly expanding. And so like, understanding that we're here to expand, we're here to create magic and like create the feeling of the flow of like who we are and what's possible in the magic. Like, it's so fun, right? And it's such a gift, and it's so potent too. Like how Mason, you were saying, you're like, it's the things that don't make sense, right? Where it's like, those are some of the best stories, because it's like, it doesn't make sense, and yet it all went down and it was fucking magical. And those are like the things that, wow, they're life-changing, right?
Yeah.
That's just how I live my life. Like, seriously, on like such a deep level, that's truly how I love to live it. Like, in wonder, in spontaneously being led. I love living through inspiration, and that's how I expand, and what, again, like, it's important for this group to realize is that, like, sometimes that is messy, right? Like, I'm going through a ton of inner work right now around who I am and how I want to show up in my business and in my life and how I want to be authentic and transparent. And that's all inspiration. And that was a divine download that, like, you know, snowballed into this experience that I'm having right now. But it has been messy. Like, I do want to be like super transparent. It's like, you know, it's not all this like, oh, it's so great and it's fun. You know, it's like, wow, this is really hard. Like, this is hard right now. But I have such a deep understanding that I don't want to live any other way, right? And like, that was just a portal to be open so that I can show up more authentic. And I don't want to live any other way. So I am willing. There's a willingness there, you know, to dive really deep into myself so that I can do the same thing for my clients, for Soul, my relationships, you know, whatever it is. I wouldn't live any other way. And I think that's a declaration, a devotion to self over and over again. And that is what expansion is. It's showing up over and over and over again and just saying, yes, I'm willing, I'm willing, I'm willing.
Yeah, I mean, because like those mini ego deaths, you know, it's like it's getting your personality to surrender and let go of an old operating system. And sometimes that means pooing a lot. Sometimes that means, you know, it's like, it's not always fun. It's like, you know, if your operating system is like, I want to let this go, but like, I can't, like, it feels really uncomfortable in the body, you know, but it's like, but I always say better out than in. And when you take time to destroy those programs, you don't have to like experience like cancer 10 years down the road or whatever. Hi, Sam.
I literally thought of poop when you said that. Better out than in.
I wanted to go into though, like Mason, how you were talking about, it's like, because it is that showing up, right? It's like that it's going to be messy, right? And just to everybody doesn't know our Avalon story, but we hit roadblock after roadblock after, like, it seemed as if it was impossible, right? And so it's not about that. It's like, oh, it's so magical this whole time. It's how do you show up when the roadblocks come? How is it that you are present? And like you said, there's a declaration for the self first. It's that, fuck, you know, this is it, and I'm here, and what the way that you know someone is showing up too is going to look different all along the journey, and within that, it's like there's so many. I'm like, go, because I was like,
well, what's coming through that's super important. I can feel the group that's like with us right now, right? These 12 people right now, whatever it is. What was so important through this expansion that we're ever going, like, it's always happening, but having someone to help me, someone, I had Soul, I got, endless coaching and sessions, and I needed support to expand. I couldn't do it by myself, or I could, but it would take months, right? And it would have been hard, and I like to do things in the easy way, so I turn right and I ask for help. I do these things, right? But it's so important, because without that, like, you would feel so alone. And it's so important to reach out. And what's so amazing is when I went through this expansion period of my life, I knew I was in alignment, because like all of a sudden there's like a coaching program that's in alignment with what I was working on last night, right? And I'm like, yes, this is like a heart aligned. I'm going to join this program. And then it's like, I'm still doing all my work. And then like, here's another coaching opportunity. Here's another thing, right? And so it's like the universe is always going to support you through your expansion, but you do have to be able to say yes to yourself in deeper ways, right? And that's like hiring a new coach, or, getting more sessions than normal or whatever, because through rapid expansion, you need rapid, like, love. that's how.
Yes, I love that, rapid love. And
I love that.
That totally leads us to,
I was gonna say,
like, we have the perfect program for this, and it's like we just created Wild Femme, and it's a 4-week process. But as we're creating, like, we're transforming, we're getting our initiations to be able to like provide this level of work for you. Like, the last week has been insane.
Behind the scenes.
And it's like, we know, like, we get to do the work and get the initiations, and then we can transmit the energetics over to you, and I feel like you guys get to have it on such, you know, it's like we've had to spend like decades to go through this, and you'll get to have like these like fast initiation portals, you know. And I feel like Wild Femme is really about tapping back into spontaneity, mysticism, magic. What is your sacred power? Like, what is your soul line power? What does that feel like? What does that look like? And how do you stay like in it? How do you maintain it? How do you stay in that expansive space, you know?
Breaking down the forms and barriers of what has been into what can be and what is.
Yes.
Yeah,
Basically,
they're gonna be on it.
yes. It's like the manual for like the blueprint for like the new rules, right?
Absolutely. And that radical self-love, a wild femme queen has radical self-love for herself. She's able to hold more, she's able to be more, she's able to embody that, and she just radiates that out of her, which then attracts in everything effortlessly, and she's forever expanding. Like, that's the embodiment of wild femme. That's what we, all four of us, have been initiating into in our own way. We are now like coming into this embodiment, and that's where this course was birthed, because we went through the initiation. So it's really exciting.
It's too.
Oops, you just froze.
We are wild. We are magical. There are all these, you know, elements that there's the deep mystery, the unknown, and there's so much potency and beauty in that.
Yeah,
It's wild.
My initiation showed, my piece of this is that how much energy it takes to pretend to not be yourself.
Huge.
So much
big.
energy to hide. It really does. And we have these programs, we have these things that tell us that it's safer. It's, you know, I'll comply or whatever. I'll please. I'll water myself down. And through this process that's been, you know, hyperdrive a week, but for me, like 4 weeks, I just realized how much of my life force was it was being wasted because I wasn't shining. I wasn't allowing myself to just be here. Like, hi, I'm Mason and this is what I do, right? And like, here, I want to guide you and I don't want to hide behind anything. This is me, right? And that, to me, that's what wild femme is being so confident in yourself to just be like, yes, here I am. I don't have to prove myself. I don't have to justify myself. I'm not obligated to do anything. I'm just here to embody me. And then because of that, here I am.
Yes, it's the radical honesty.
Yes.
So I literally opened up a poem today. It was for women who do too much. It's a daily meditation. But it says May 15th. It's perfect. It says anger. It says, I am a woman in the prime of life with certain powers, and those powers severely limited by authorities whose faces I rarely see. By Adrienne Rich, and it says, it is time. As women, we have been limited to as what we can do, say, think, and feel. Some of us hate to admit it, yet deep down we know that there are many forces that limit our lives, forces over which we have little power. Only a person with no feelings and no awareness would not feel the smolder of anger, even rage deep inside at times. It seems that we as women have only had two options, to go along with the authorities and thus support them, or to fight them and thus support them. Either way, we lose. Fortunately, there's a third option. We can be ourselves. We can see what is important for us and to do it. In order to exercise this third option, we may have to go through our anger first. When we respect our anger and deal with it, we discover doors that were not obvious before.
Yeah.
Love that.
I love that. And I love like how powerful the divine woman, the high priestess is. Like when the woman and the man that's activating the divine feminine like archetype, you know, when that wholeness is created in your system, like magic is inevitable. You know, it's like mystery and miracles, they just happen when you're in that embodied divine space, you know, and that is what makes me so excited. And I think that when you're working on it on your own, it's really hard to see past life stuff. It's really hard to see ancestral stuff. And like, you're going to be able to come into this container with all four of us seeing like all the multiple quantum dimensions of what needs to be adjusted or optimized. And it's just going to be so fun. I'm just so excited. I can't even. Yay, but I know that Momo has a session soon. So.
And I do. So does Mason. So does Mason. So if anyone wants to connect in with us about Wild Femme, just DM us, find us on Solid.
Yeah, we're still in pre-sale phase, so it's only $1,555 right now. As we get into early bird and full price, the price is going to go higher and higher. So this is like the sweet spot. This is the best time to get in. And, you know, we've had some people sign up already. The moment you sign up, you're already starting to get initiations. And yeah, so it's going to be awesome. Most likely, so we know it's going to be in June, but we're still feeling out the dates. So. Yay! We love you guys.
So much
Great.
love to you.
So much love.
Love
Wonderful.
Happy
Freedom Friday.
Freedom Friday.
Yay! Freedom Friday. Ciao, bells.